How are you doing, Mr. Sazek?
Hello, Mr. Hom.
It's wonderful to be here for this audition of Hamlet. Can I begin?
Please.
So excellent a king that was to this, Hyperion to a satyr, so loving to my mother that he might not be teeing the winds of heaven, visit her face too roughly. Heaven and earth must I remember, why she would hang on him, as if increase of appetite had grown by what it fed on, and yet within a month, let me not thinketh on. Frailty, thy name is woman. A little month or ere those shoes were old.
Patrick. Need I remind you, Hamlet is thinking a great deal about death at this time in his life. His father has died. He himself thinks he's close to death. And there's greater death. Death in Scandinavia, the fall of empires. But death is not a question, it's a fact we all face. The question is, what happens after death? Not necessarily in the heaven, but on earth. What is the legacy we leave? Intrinsic in a death of this kind, a grandiose death, the death of kings, is a kingly legacy. A royal and important history that needs to be passed on. So deliver your next lines like that of a man who is pondering the legacy of his crown.
With which he followed my poor father's body like Niobe, all tears, why she, even she, oh God, a beast that wants discourse of reason, would have mourned longer, married with my uncle, my father's brother, but no more like my father than I to Hercules. Within a month, ere yet the salt of most unrighteous tears had left the flushing in her gallant eyes, she married, oh most wicked speed, to post with such dexterity, to incestuous sheets. It is not nor I, it cannot come to good, but break my heart, for I must hold my tongue.
Charles, what's up? Eric Easton. I'm going to be Hamlet's next production, trying to outdo my competitor.
Aiden Tuttle. I'm trying out for the role of the ghost.
Nice to meet you.
All right, so as actors, you know, we're really trying to fit into a certain role. We're trying to emulate the type of character that brings out the emotions of the play, that brings out the true ideas. So as the director, what type of advice can you give me as the actor to really fit that role?
Well, as an actor, you should remember, when we put on a Shakespeare production, we're basically in a time capsule back to his era. When you think about a play like this, we've got an animatronic ghost, there could be lights, there could be sounds, probably executed with candles and mechanical instruments in this era. Think of how amazing that would be to this audience, who probably have no forms of entertainment. They eat cornmeal and beans at every meal. They live in wooden huts. Think about what you can do as the actor in this scene to convey that same sense of awe to a modern audience who's dazzled by CGI and robots. See how you can convey that same sense of awe to the 21st century.
All right, so before we talk about mortality a little bit, talking about life and death, and I think that this situation in particular doesn't matter from Shakespeare or the modern times. I think this idea of mortality transcends beyond just one type of era. It transcends beyond just the Shakespearean era. It's really something that exists in all lives. It's ubiquitous across time. So I guess in this situation, when we're talking about mortality, where we have the literal duality of life as Hamlet and death as the ghost, and I think that in and of itself, stop, Aiden, stop, dude. Just put her down.
That's fine. Leave that in there. Leave that in there. That's like a nice scene. Tango, 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 tango.
All right, let's just keep filming.
Oh, we're still filming.
Tango.
All right, so their shenanigans are out here, so I'm going to start.
Please.
All set? All right, as Hamlet, of course. Speak! I am bound to hear.
So art thou to revenge when thou shalt hear.
What?
I am thy father's spirit, doomed for a certain term to walk the night, and for the day confined to fast in fires, till the foul crimes done in my days of nature are burnt and purged away. But that I am forbid to tell the secrets of my prison house, I could a tale unfold whose lightest word would harrow up thy soul, Freeze thy young blood, make thy two eyes like stars start from their spheres, thy knotted and combined locks depart in each particular hair to stand on end like quills upon fretful porpentine. But this eternal, that doesn't say bacon. But this eternal blazon must not be to ears of flesh and blood. List, list, oh list, if thou didst ever thy dear father love.
Oh God!
Revenge is foul and most unnatural. Murder.
Alright, that was a great start. But Eric, you need to remember as Hamlet, you have one of the most important scenes in the entire play right here. Because you are, at this point, a man who is dealing with mortality. He's just seen his father die of suspicious circumstances. And now his ghost happens upon you in the woods. Try and approximate the emotion, the fear, the surprise of that moment. Because that is what is really going to convey that sense of death and that sense of anger and fear and emotion that we're trying to convey from Hamlet to the audience from this scene. Got that? Thanks.
Howdy, Mr. Sosnick.
All right, Mr. Hall.
I'm wonderful. Stephen with us.
Hello, Miss.
Mr. Sosnick.
Hello, Mr. Tuttle.
Can we begin?
Yes, please.
How is it that the clouds still hang on you?
Not so, my lord. I am too much in the sun.
Good Hamlet, cast thy eye, and let thine eye look like a friend on Denmark. Do not forever with thy veiled lids seek for thy noble father in the dust. Thou knowest 'tis common, all that lives must die, passing through nature to eternity.
Alright, that was a great start. But again, these scenes are pivotal to our understanding of Hamlet as a play about mortality. You, Gertrude, you look at him and you say, all that lives must die. Hamlet's central emotional struggle here, his inner struggle, the inner plot line of Hamlet, is centered on him wrestling with mortality. And in this scene, not only are you conveying it to Hamlet, you're also conveying it to the audience. In Hamlet, we see many times where things that are being elucidated to Hamlet are also being revealed to the audience. So sometimes, when you're addressing him, you should think about, in what way am I also addressing the people in the chairs?
Completely agree. How did I do?
Beautifully, as always.
There, on the pendant bows her coronet weeds, clamoring to hang, an envious sliver broke, when down her weedy trophies and herself fell in the weeping brook. Her clothes spread wide, and, mermaid-like, awhile they bore her up, which time she chanted snatches of old tunes, as one incapable of her own distress, or like a creature native and endued unto that element, but long it could not be till that her garments, heavy with their drink, pulled the poor wretch from her melodious lay to muddy death.
Stephen, in that scene, you have a very difficult task, because you need to intertwine your sense of mortality and death with your intoxicating sexuality as a character. Think about how in this scene, by being a supple, voluptuous, beautiful woman, you in many ways represent the opposite of death to Hamlet.
You're not so bad yourself.
This graveyard scene is an absolutely pivotal scene in Hamlet because it really crystallizes our sense of mortality and the way Hamlet understands that. Because we see two of the most important people in his life, his lover and his childhood clown, now reduced to nothing but bone and dust. And the actors need to try and convey how is Hamlet going to interpret this, seeing what he loved most in his life now reduced to nothing in death? And how is this going to affect the way he thinks about his own legacy as a son and as a king?
Is she to be buried in Christian burial that willfully seeks her own salvation?
I tell thee she is, and therefore make her grave straight. The
How?
crowner hath sat on her and finds it a Christian burial.
How can that be, unless she drowned herself in her own defense?
Why, 'tis found so.
It must be se offendendo, it cannot else be. But here lies the point. If I drown myself willingly, it argues an act, and an act hath 3 branches. It is to act, to do, to perform. Argal, she drowns herself wittingly.
Nay, but hear you, good man Delver.
Give me leave, here lies the water. Good, here stands the man. Good, if the man goes to this water and drown himself, it is he, will he, nil he goes, mark you that. But if the water come to him and drown him, he drowns not himself. Argal, he that is not guilty of his own death, shortens not his own life.
But is this law?
Aye, Mary, isn't. Crowner's quest law.
Will you hath truth on't? If it had not been a gentlewoman, she should be buried out Christian burial.